So let me make sure that I got this correct. Trump removes a foreign dictator, no American casualties, clean operation, and somehow Democrats are still fuming. Not confused, not debating, just mad, which tells you everything you need to know. Let's start with the reaction.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Let me ask, first of all, just your reaction to Secretary Hegseth's announcement today that he is moving ahead with trying to demote you and dock your pay for having advised military service members that they should obey their oath and refuse illegal orders.
Well, I'm surprised that they're continuing down this path and taking, these steps to try to silence me, silence other members of Congress, silence retired members of the military, former service members, really silence the American people. I mean, this isn't totally only about me. This is about all of us. And, I mean, this started back in November when we put out that video and Donald Trump said I should be hanged, I should be executed, prosecuted, and then Pete Hegseth ran with that and said he was going to court-martial me. And so today we're at the point where I guess they realized they wouldn't do well with a jury in a court-martial, so they're just going to go on their own and try to demote me after 25 years of service in the United States Navy. But here's the thing, Rachel. I'm never going to back down from these guys. I'm going to continue to speak out. I'm going to continue to do my job. And as much as I can, highlight how wrong these people are and how outrageous this is and how dangerous. So I'm not going away. This is just one step in this this process. And I think it's fair to say it's a big one.
I'm struck by the way this does and doesn't fit the pattern.
Mark Kelly over here crying, y'all. This is the modern Democrat playbook. Something, decisive happens. Something effective happens. Something American first happens. Or America, I said American, same thing, right? And instead of saying, okay, that worked or giving any credit at all, they go straight to I'm being silenced. Sure. You're on MSNBC. No one is silencing you. If anything, your wife is. But notice the pattern. Trump acts, Democrats cry, media clutches their pearls, all right? Now let's talk about what actually happened. While they're busy crying over there on cable news, Trump was busy getting things done.
Nicolás Maduro got to meet some great Americans wearing night vision goggles 3 nights ago. He didn't know they were coming until 3 minutes before they arrived. In fact, his wife said, I think I hear aircraft outside. They didn't know. You know why? Because every single part of that chain did their job. And they did it flawlessly.
That secret plan, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was months in the making. It began at 10:46 Eastern on Friday night, involving more than 150 aircraft from 20 different bases on land and at sea. We're told that jet fighters, with those jet fighters in the air, Joint Air Components soon began dismantling and disabling air defense systems in Venezuela. Just after 1 in the morning, U.S. apprehension forces descended into Maduro's heavily fortified compound in Caracas. The Venezuelan president and his wife were then dragged from their bedrooms by the U.S. Army's elite Delta Force before the couple was able to flee, though they tried, to a nearby safe room. And then by 3:30, the return force was over water with the Maduros, and they were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, whisked away to an amphibious assault ship in the Caribbean.
Hegseth explains the operation. CNN had no choice but to do so as well. This is what competence sounds like. No drama, no confusion, no we're looking into it. Just we did our job flawlessly. You know what I mean? And Maduro didn't know until what he said 3 minutes before. He didn't know until minutes before. That's not chaos. That's precision. No American casualties again. I'm going to repeat that, which is exactly why the outrage started, because when things work, the narrative collapses. And when the narrative collapses, someone always takes to the streets.
Both here in the U.S. and against people in Venezuela.
Now, in the background of this interview, you could see that police car. And now right here, we're showing you video we have. Immediately after the interview finished, Plickta was arrested by 2 Grand Rapids police officers. You can see it in the video, and an officer tells Plickta that she is being arrested for obstructing a roadway and failure to obey a lawful command from a police officer. You can see as she's taken away in that car, she was issuing a number of messages about wanting the U.S. to free Maduro.
Both here in the U.S. and against people in Venezuela.
FAFO, darling, as this caption says. I want to read the full caption of this. Karen gets arrested mid-interview after speaking out against the U.S. action in Venezuela. FAFO, darling, Grand Rapids ain't having it. Yeah, you know, there's something interesting. She wasn't arrested for speech. She was arrested for blocking roads, all right? Please make sure, you know, they all understand that. Because online, it instantly becomes Trump, arresting decent people. Man, get out of here, man. He's arresting citizens for speaking their mind. That type of stuff. Nah, this right here is called consequences. You don't get to cosplay revolution and then cry when reality shows up in handcuffs. I'm just saying. But here's where it gets pretty funny, y'all, because even some of Trump's loudest critics, they couldn't even hide the truth. Look at who, though?
Your question, who voted for this? The people in South Florida. The Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years. When we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability, it brought me into tears. It brought me great joy. And, you know, I live in South Florida.
But are you okay with the way that it was done?
But you can, I think both things can be true.
Okay.
I think you can criticize and ask questions and have concerns about the way it was done and what this means in the future.
Right.
And I think you can still celebrate that this murderous, corrupt, sadistic son of a bitch is out of Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because he has... I think there's 8 million Venezuelan exiles all over the world. People have fled from this man's tyrannical rule. So for me...
What did I just witness? I mean, really. Still, you know, it's all about feelings for them because once it finally hits home for her now. But did y'all catch that? Basically tears, you know, applause, joy. Why? Because when a dictator falls, reality doesn't care about party lines. Now, we know that she hates Trump. See the look. But hey, at least she loved the results. First time, I think we need to celebrate this moment. I never thought I'd be looking at the View like, oh, okay, good episode. Hey, that's the moment, you know, the mask slips, though. And let's zoom out. Oh, I got to sneeze. Two. Ooh. I think I'm done. Ooh. But yeah, now let's zoom out because this wasn't random, all right? Excuse me. Y'all know we're allergic to the BS. This wasn't, you know, super emotional. This was strategic.
We didn't really invade Venezuela because of drug trafficking. This isn't really just about oil. It's about China, which deployed a spy ship off the coast of Venezuela in August to monitor our military. It's about Russia, which landed planes that can carry nukes to America at least 3 times in Venezuela. It's about the fact that Maduro wasn't even the democratically elected leader of Venezuela and was giving our biggest rivals the ability to hurt America in our own backyard. This is about power. And in case you haven't noticed, we've been losing it to China. Trump isn't the first president to make a power play for America. He's just the first to be honest about it. Maduro is an ally of China and Russia. Venezuela's military equipment mostly comes from China and Russia. Russia was building a weapons factory in Venezuela. Russian military contractors were Maduro's personal bodyguards. China has poured over $100 billion into Venezuela. Today, most of Venezuela's oil goes straight to China. Just hours before we captured him, Maduro was meeting with China's special envoy. Venezuela has 17% of oil reserves in the world. Do you want that controlled by China? Some people are saying it's immoral to interfere with Venezuela's affairs like we are. But guess what? China and Russia already were. And maybe you think it's immoral for us to get involved, even though they are. But morality is a convenience that only the powerful can afford. Morality is a local language. Power is a universal language. Our adversaries don't care about our morality. They care about winning. So we need to speak in a language they understand. And what Trump did, translated into the language of power, is say, don't mess with America in our backyard. Here's the harsh truth. The powerful get to choose the moral code. Morals are a standard. Power is how you enforce it. China has been getting more powerful while we've been arguing over pronouns. If we don't get it together, China will be the prime power. Whose moral code would you like to live under? America's or theirs? Well, when America wins, we still get to criticize our government. Try that in Beijing.
Right.
If you want to support unapologetic truth-telling in 2026, become a paid subscriber on my Substack. Even if you don't watch the extra content on there, your subscription makes this mission possible. Link below.
Kazan explains the power play in this. This is the part that I want you thinking about. China, Russia, oil, power. Morality sounds great when you're already on top, but geopolitics isn't therapy, it's chess. And Trump just flipped the board in America's backyard, which is why the media rush to polls, right? Because if they can't beat the result, they can poison the perception.
A recent Washington Post poll finds Americans pretty evenly split on the operation over the weekend. 40% approve, 42% disapprove, 18% are unsure. When it comes to who should decide the future leadership of Venezuela, 94% say the Venezuelan people, 6% say the United States. One thing I have to say is, this was a very successful military operation. The idea that 42% disapprove is a higher number than I would think. It says to me that the American people are thinking not just about this operation, but maybe more about also, what comes next?
Well, also, it's Trump. 42% of the American people would oppose it if he cured cancer personally in the Oval Office tonight. There is a reflexive opposition to Trump. It is the entire platform of the Democratic Party. And to the extent that that's how their leadership tells them to act, that's how the Democratic grassroots are going to see it. You see Democrats today who came on this network and others and called for Maduro's ouster, demanded it, now saying they oppose the fact that Donald Trump just arrested Maduro. This reflexive opposition to everything Trump does is corrosive of the Democratic Party, and you shouldn't look at these things through that lens. You should look at it and say, highly competent military and law enforcement operation, we got rid of a bad guy, there's a better future for Venezuela, and it's going to inure to the United States' benefit. But, it's Trump, so everything must be opposed. If he's for it,
well, it's not.
No, that's right. Scott Jennings just sat there and destroyed that CNN panel with facts. That line should be framed. It should. Trump could cure cancer and 42% would oppose it. That should definitely, be on the shirt for sure. That's not public opinion. That's, how do I say, reflexive hatred, the TDS. And everyone knows it. So when a panic didn't work, they tried the legal angle.
Look, I can tell you, as Speaker of the House, as the person who's in charge of defending Article I powers, I'm just going to insist to you that those have not been traversed in any way by what happened here. The president used his authority under the law. He did so in a way that caused no casualties on the American side, and got the job done with exquisite intelligence and extreme precision that can only be done by the U.S. That's why we are the world's great and last superpower, and we stand for justice, and you're going to see that meted out here. It's overdue, and everyone will be safer because this has happened. Look, I can tell you, as Speaker of the House, as the person who's in charge of defending...
Speaker Johnson defends the Constitution, basically. Notice how calm he was, too. No scrambling, there wasn't no backtracking, no Tim Walsh-esque. we'll see, what the courts say. None of that, because the facts, they are born when you're actually right. And then came the global meltdown.
Santiago, where do you live now?
I'm currently located in Texas.
You're in Texas. Okay. Does the events of this weekend and the fact that Nicolás Maduro is now out, would that change your mind about going back home to Venezuela?
Absolutely. I mean, I came here to this country because I'm eternally grateful to the United States, both because of this, but also because they gave me a home when they kicked me out of my country because of the way that I thought and the way that I wanted to see my country. And I'm eternally grateful to the United States for that, and I cannot thank America enough. But 100%, it has changed my mind of going back home eventually. I'm currently doing my PhD in Texas, but I'm thinking of whether I should continue or not if Venezuela is going to become free. This is a very serious conversation that a lot of Venezuelans are having. And I think President Trump realized that he didn't have to do a mass deportation campaign of Venezuelans around the U.S., especially the ones that are legal here. He just had to remove one really bad person in Venezuela. And not only the ones in the United States were going to leave, a lot of the people around the world are going to leave. This is the largest diaspora in the world without a country without a war. We're talking about 9 million people here, a fourth of the country, and a lot of them are going to be returning.
That wasn't a speech. That was a warning. If the UN defends narco-terrorists, what exactly are they defending? And more importantly, who are they working for? Big question mark. Now, up to this point, everything you've seen has been domestic chaos. Cable news crying, polls being weaponized, protesters blocking traffic. But what happens when the conversation, leaves social media, leaves CNN and hits the world stage? That's when the excuses start working, because now America has to speak out loud. Like we have to. This is why.
Transparency and integrity measures essential to upholding credible elections. If the UN and the United Nations in this body confers legitimacy on an illegitimate narco-terrorist and the same treatment in this charter of a democratically elected president or head of state, what kind of organization is this? We should note that over 50 countries, many nations, including the European Union, including a number of Latin American countries in the region, and of course the United States, again, over 50 countries rejected the legitimacy of Maduro's re-election following the disputed 2024 elections and do not recognize him as Venezuela's legitimately elected president. Transparency and integrity measures essential to...
Now, that's not rhetoric. That's not spin. That's a sitting U.S. ambassador saying plainly, if you legitimize a narco-terrorist, you are the problem. And notice something important. He didn't say America was at war. He didn't say, occupation. He didn't say regime change. You know what I mean? He said law enforcement. That distinction matters because it exposes the law. The law was never about legality, never about morality. The outrage exists only for one reason. Trump acted and it worked. That's literally it. No drawn out war, no American casualties, no begging permission from people who didn't live here. Just results. So, I think the pitch is pretty clear. Trump removes Maduro, media panics, Democrats scramble, the UN lectures in America. America finally speaks with its full voice again, I feel. Not apologizing, not explaining itself, not asking permission, just reminding the world this hemisphere isn't up for debate. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write, say it out loud. Yeah. Say it out loud. I want to know who stayed for the whole thing. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.